Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the college football edition of Proline, direct from Las Vegas, the gaming capital of the world. Joined by Jeff Sadi, runs Las Vegas Sports Services, plus muscle man Sean Hess, straight from the New Jersey beaches.
New Jersey?
Wow. Weren't you muscle man of the year in 1963?
More like 53.
I saw that online. I got some college football games to talk about for the weekend. First, to tell you what we had on for the weekend. This past weekend, Jeff, your blockbuster plays, your highest release plays on a sizzling 32-14 run going back to last year. However, you did have the Steelers on Sunday, which didn't get there. Plus, you had North Carolina on the show, which got there. What happened with Pittsburgh late? Who was to blame?
The Steelers did everything they possibly could to not cover that game. It's
right.
just
Sure
a terrible bad beat. There were so many things, but the one thing that got to me was about 6 minutes to go. They're getting the ball back on a punt. They're up by a touchdown, and they don't call for a fair catch. And, of course, I mean, they're going to get the ball midfield guaranteed, but they don't call for a fair catch. Antonio Brown, he fumbles it.
Yeah.
And even though the Raiders did not score in that drive, the Steelers had a chance here to put the game away, and they didn't do it. There were so many things in that game, and there was no reason. It was just a terrible bad beat. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, you're talking about Pittsburgh being at home, and they've already lost at home to the Bengals, which means they have to go. That's a divisional game. That's huge, and they have to go play them again, and they're both in that same division. And I don't know, Tomlin, it's almost like he just wants to win games if he can in the first half when they got that turnover. 3 and out. You can't do that at home. You're on the 40-yard line, their 40 line, you know. Run, and then kick the ball. You can't. I'm not understanding him. It's almost like he is afraid to trust his offense. He's got one of the best passers in the league, and now he's out, of course. Roethlisberger, I think he's out for what, probably a week or 2.
2 weeks, if that's
yeah,
what they
2
said,
weeks.
yeah.
But you got one of the strongest arm passers in two Super Bowls he won. Gets a team that doesn't play that great of defense. Just throw the ball. He wouldn't do it. Run. And even though, was it Bell? Is he the one that's out? It doesn't matter who the running back is. He's determined to just run the clock down and try and win the game if he can without using the pass. I don't understand it. You're right. Fair catch the ball. That's crazy. Why risk it, especially where he was. So a lot of time goes off the clock, and it's less time, and then it gets into overtime. Yeah. And they win it by, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, they're going to win this game by 3, somebody, and that was what it was.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the thing that drove me crazy in that Pittsburgh game was when they had a 7-point lead late in the game. They block a punt, and they had the ball like the 45-yard line. What a time to go for the jugular, to open up, to go to your strength.
The defense played fine, gave them every opportunity. They should have scored at least 10 more points than they did. That should have been a blowout, that Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, and if you get the ball around midfield, and they 1-2-3 punt.
At home.
Conservative play calling. Yeah. The next thing you know, the Raiders have tied it. Then Pittsburgh's opening it up, running around, trying to pass with Big Ben running. Yeah. Some of the coaching I did have a lot of faults with. And the other thing is, you mentioned running games. They're trying to, Steelers try to run without. Denver's doing the same thing. They've been trying to run all season long. Yeah. Their running numbers are horrendous. Why not go to your strength, the passing game?
It makes no sense to me. Tomlin, in my opinion, has always been a very good coach. I've always liked him, but this year he's gotten just very close to the best type of thing. I don't understand it. You don't understand. But he won the game. That's all he cares about. He won the game. Didn't cover the number, but he won the game.
Yeah, that's correct.
But they look bad doing it. So.
All right, we got a couple of college football games to talk about. One of them is this Memphis Houston game. This is the American Athletic Conference, West Conference. In the East, you've got Temple running away with it, but in the West, what a logjam here with Memphis, Houston, and Navy. And 2 of them are undefeated. We got 2 of them meeting here, Memphis and Houston. Memphis just lost to Navy in a big showdown. Now Houston undefeated in the conference. This Memphis team, 8-1 overall. That was their first loss of the year last week. And this team has made major headlines earlier in the year when they upset Ole Miss, and it was a blowout as a 10-point dog, 37-24. They had 491 yards against that very strong SEC team. They have a 6'7" senior quarterback in Paxton Lynch, 19 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, very good balance on offense, plenty of punch. However, there's a couple of flaws with the teams. They've been penalized quite a bit. And then the game last week against Navy, undefeated showdown game. Boy, they couldn't stop the Navy rush. They got blown out as a favorite, 45-20. So, Sean, this had the makings of an even bigger series. Still very big now, but what do you make of this Memphis team?
Well, it's Houston. Like I said, I'll just go with the API rank. Houston opened 6th. I think the total is now, 71? It finally came out.
Yes.
I don't know if there's any movement on it yet. Houston ranked number 16. Memphis ranked number 25. This game will go at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and ESPN2, The Deuce, will cover it. This is Memphis season right here, and you're right. In fact, but that win over Mississippi was like 6 weeks ago or something at least, and it's almost like they haven't covered their last two, and you're right, they lost last week. But this is their season right here. They're coming off a straight-off loss, as you said, the Navy. They did that as a home favorite of 8.5, never in the game, 45-20. How about Navy, who runs the ball all the time? It's not like you don't know what Navy's going to do. Even when Paul Johnson was there, Navy has traditionally always run the football. They ran the ball for 374 yards. That's not good. At 5.7 yards a rush in that game alone. Plus, Memphis turned the ball over 3 times. Memphis now 8-1 straight up, but just 4-4 against the bookie. You know, 4-4-1 against the bookie, so they don't make any money for you. They haven't covered in their last 2, lost the last one as we just talked about. And Memphis, the most heavily penalized team at 88 yards a game in the conference. Average line in Memphis games is Memphis minus 10.5. They did beat Ole Miss, as you said a while back, straight up as a home dog at 10, but that's been a while. That's like over 6 weeks ago. Senior quarterback, and I do like, as you know, and we've talked about this kind of thing before. We haven't mentioned it, but this Alabama thing, same thing. You look for senior quarterback leadership whenever you can. Paxton Lynch is his name, 19 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but a very little ground game. In fact, Memphis runs the ball pretty much by committee. The leading rusher on the Memphis team has only 444 yards for the whole season. Top 5 rushers have 1,235 yards. It's not a big ground game. That's combined in 9 games. Look at their schedule. Memphis on the road to Temple next week. That's not going to be easy. Memphis is a good team. Temple is a good team. And then they play home to SMU. That's probably not going to be a problem. Here's Houston. Yeah, you know, I went to the University of Houston, as you know, a million years ago. They're 9-0 straight up. Very good against the number. 6-3. They win by 25 points a game. And the average line in all of their games is a 15-point favorite. And they run and throw the football very well. That quarterback, Greg Ward. And I don't know, is he a senior or junior?
Junior.
Okay, he's a
5'11"
junior. This kid, 13 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions, and he's rushed for 16 touchdowns. He's a one-man wrecking crew here. They also have 2 running backs. Each of them have over 830 yards on the season. So they can do it either way. Houston also forces turnovers. I think they're plus like 23 or 24 for the year. So they do that. Houston coming off a 33-30 home win over Cincinnati as a home favorite at 8.5. I thought they should have covered the game, but they messed around in the fourth quarter, at least got the win. And they did allow 523 passing yards to Cincinnati. So Memphis, if they're going to win this game or even have a shot, they're going to have to throw the football, and they're going to have to throw it well, and they're going to have to not turn it over. Houston on the road to UConn next week. I don't see a big problem there. But then home to Navy. This Navy team might be the one who decides everything here. Houston might go in there, 11-0 and get bushwhacked by this Navy team because they just run the football down your throat. Nobody ever seems to stop them. I'm pretty sure, I don't pronounce this right, TDECU, the stadium they're in, which replaced Roberts Stadium, which they played in for years. I'm pretty sure it's an open-air stadium. And there's going to be some rain during the day and during the evening, thunder showers in the air. And I'm not calling for a monsoon or a blizzard or anything like that, but I lived in Houston for years, and the humidity is always high, and this is the time of year when that rain just shows up a lot. So there may be some showers that might slow that Houston offense down, but I don't think so. I think 6.5. It might go to 7, maybe more. 71, I guess that's about right. I would have made it maybe a tad higher. There's only one way to go here. You got a team that can do both things, run and throw the football, and they get turnovers against a team that gives you 25 first downs during the season on penalties alone at 90 yards a clip. I don't know, Jeff. I'd have to go with the favorite on this game if I was going to play it.
Yeah, I'd make a slight lean on Houston this game. Of course, Memphis is never a disgrace to lose a Navy. It's just a tough team to play, that triple option. You can prepare for it all you want, and when the game starts, you still can't stop it. So it doesn't take away from the great job that Justin Fuente is doing coaching that team. Paxton Lynch was 26-42, 305 yards, but he threw an interception, and the team had 3 turnovers. We knew that Memphis didn't have a great defense. Remember those games? They gave up 46 to Cincinnati, 41 to Bowling Green, 42 to Tulsa, so it wasn't a huge surprise. But they scored 44.8 points per game themselves. Houston, this is their toughest opponent was Cincinnati, and they eked out that win. And now this is another tough opponent. But Memphis, Spencer lost, and Memphis lost. It's hard to gauge how they're going to react after that loss. Maybe they'll be, maybe they have a letdown, or maybe they'll be fired up. It's hard to say right now. But Houston does have a lot of injuries. Their running back Ryan Jackson's out with a broken collarbone. Their top cornerback William Jackson III, he's out. The offensive line has a lot of injuries, so that's one thing to think about. Kenneth Farrell ran for 106 yards on Saturday. The quarterback, Greg Ward, ran for 119 yards.
He's a horse.
Yeah, but they gave up 523 yards passing. Gunakio, Cincinnati, 523 yards, 4 TDs. So let's see. Last year, Houston won at Memphis 28-24, the 7-point dog. They won 2 years ago, 25-15 as 8-point favorite. I would take a slight lean toward Houston, but with those injuries and with not knowing how Memphis is going to react after the loss, it's a tough one. It's not going to be a game that I play, but I'll give a slight lean to Houston.
All right, Sean, when you were in Houston, how many touchdown passes did you throw?
Listen, this is back in the 60s when they had a guy named Warren McVay. I mean, they beat Tulsa.
Running back.
Yeah, super stud. Yeah, he unfortunately bad stuff happened to him once he got out of college. He played in the NFL for a while, but Houston. This was under Bill Yeoman, and this is before they were in the Southwest Conference. They were just an independent. But one year they beat, I think it was Tulsa. I'm pretty sure 100-6. I mean, they've always been known for offense, not a lot of defense, but they could put points on. That's always been their forte. And then, believe it or not, when they got in the Southwest Conference, which I think was around 1974, and they had this quarterback named Davis, who was very good. They won the Southwest Conference championship. We're talking when University of Texas was there, and they had all those powerhouse teams. So, but Houston is always. They're like the Golden State Warriors, even when they were in Philadelphia. They've always been known for putting points on the board. The problem is they don't stop anybody. But this year, not great, but they're getting turnovers, which helps. And one thing Memphis can't afford to do is they can't turn that ball over. Not to that offense. I personally don't think they can do that. So.
Yeah, that game was in 1968. They beat Tulsa 100-6.
Was it 68? Yeah, it was.
I believe that was the last time.
That was in the Astrodome. They used to play in the Astrodome, and they just ran up and down the field.
I think that was the last time that a team at this level scored 100 points.
100 points. I think it was 100-6, but don't.
That's right, 106 is what.
Yeah. So.
Here's a game where I can't trust either defense, or I should say it's difficult to trust in a marquee game with only one loss total between these two teams. Like Houston at home, but there's some injuries, and boy, that game last week they allowed 523 yards passing and over 580 yards total in the game, so that's a concern. Memphis, they gave up 480 yards to Ole Miss, so I have trouble with the defense.
And won the game.
Yeah, and won, correct. Memphis, very good in the role of bounce back. They're good against winning teams, 7-3-1 against the spread. And after a 20-point blowout loss or more, they're 12-3-2 against the spread. So I look here at a high-scoring game. I thought this was going to be a little bit higher total than it is. Can't trust either but both offenses with these quarterback play are capable of scoring. And last year's game, Houston won 28-24. Memphis had the edge in yards just by a little bit, but keep in mind the quarterback, Ward, for Houston, that was really his first start. He had been a wide receiver, but because of an injury to John O'Corn actually getting benched, they had to put him in there, and he did very well leading them to a victory. But I'll look for a high-scoring game.